Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the Great British Baking Show, how much we hate squirrels, and Lily James and Dominic West. Our user feedback is about how awesome we are, and we end with our weekly feature, the comments of the week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 70.
I told you that before. I practiced my British accent.
No, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra. I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser. Or Kaiser.
What the hell is that?
That was my British accent.
I'm not even going to try. Although later, I have a segment where Karen does a little British accent when we were talking about the Great British Baking Show. I am not good at accents.
Well, so tennis, the world feed for a lot of tennis matches.
We got to do an intro.
No, I'm just telling you why I do a British accent, why I practice it.
All right.
The world feed, they have a lot of British commentators, and I like to do my own little British commentary on some of the tennis matches.
While you're watching it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
That was a jolly good shot. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's cute. It makes people seem smarter. It makes guys seem hotter when they have accents. I told that to my son, and he's like, Mom, look at this guy's video and tell me he's hot. And he started playing me all these nerdy British guys. I'm like, no, he's not hot. The accent does nothing for him. No. And they're like gamers. And
if I just listen to someone's voice and I don't have to see them, yeah, I'd prefer an accent.
Yeah, exactly. So I asked you this week if we could just talk about nothing and stupid shit, because I'm so sick of the news. I'm starting to get really burnt out and angry at everything. And we have less than 3 weeks for the election. There's the confirmation hearings. It's maddening and frustrating. So I just wanted to talk about stupid shit. And we have one good cheating scandal, so we'll talk about that too.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I think that's fine. We don't have to cover endless royal stuff and death and destruction and Trump having coronavirus and being all ragey and this fucking handmaiden bullshit. Yeah. You know, just fuck all these people.
Exactly. People really liked it when we were laughing our asses off the last couple weeks.
This is my only political commentary, apparently, for this week, is that he looks awful. He still looks so sick.
Well, you're looking at pictures of him all the time because you pick the best, worst ones. I don't really look at him that much. I defer to you.
I've been watching the videos that Aaron Rupart posts. He does constant streams of videos of Trump speeches, and he still sounds sick. His voice is very hoarse, and
oh no,
I think he's still really suffering.
Oh no. Melania, she took some St. John's wort or something. Now she's all better.
She obviously had a mild case. I don't see the problem with her saying, I just took vitamins and rested. I think that's what you should do if you have a mild case.
She didn't have it, but So I wanted to talk about stuff we're watching on TV, because that's always fun. Not that I have anything great I'm watching. I've been watching the Great British Baking Show season 8, and they're doing the unprecedented step on Netflix of meeting it out. Only 3 episodes are available now, and people overseas have seen the 4th one, which is the chocolate one. We haven't. We're just at Bread on Netflix as of this recording, which is the 3rd one.
I don't think I've ever watched an entire season all the way through, because they're so easy to just watch one at a time and just be comforted. I'll watch it on PBS sometimes, and I'll watch maybe 2 in a row at most. And I'm like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah.
It's such a gentle way to spend an hour or 2 just watching British people be nice to each other and bake.
It is a gentle, cute show. You and I talked about this on episode 31. I wouldn't have remembered that, but I just searched on our site for podcast and Great British Baking Show. Yeah, it is a gentle, wallpaper show. And you can also do a deep dive in it where you really care who wins and you get invested in the people. I never really do. I'm more on my phone or computer the whole time while I watch it.
Yeah, well, I remember a few years ago, like it was a much bigger deal about who won and who didn't. The person who won and then the runner-up, they were both like getting all this exposure and all this stuff. But I don't think it's like that anymore.
I think because it's been on for so many seasons, I'm sure the person gets more mileage out of it in England, you know.
It was that way with Project Runway too. Like the first, I would say 5 seasons, the winners would make a huge impact. And now no one cares. Like, no one pays attention.
Ooh, an American Idol and The Voice and all that stuff too. Yeah. I never really thought about that. So here's a segment from Zoom where we talked about the Great British Baking Show. So this is Karen, Ameerah, and Alnaaze. And Alnaaze is in Switzerland. So she has seen the chocolate episode. And later on, I didn't include all this because we talked about this for quite a while. Later on, she was like holding it over our heads that she saw it, and everybody wanted her to give us spoilers, but she wouldn't. So here's that segment.
I've been spreading the word about the Great British Baking Show. I'm trying to get my sister onto it. She laughs at me every time I say it. And then she texts, she said, you know what? I'm going to watch this. I'm like, yeah, you need to watch it, you know.
They're always skeptical until they start watching it and then they get addicted. That's how my mom was. She was like, oh, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it. And then now when I told her, she's like, you know, oh, let me pull out my laptop. I'll watch it on Netflix right now. She loves it. And it's like, you just have to get them into it first.
Yeah. It's such fluff. I mean, even the bad jokes are so bad, but it's okay. Like you guys were saying before, the world is a dumpster fire. And sometimes you just need, Matt Lucas to make a bad joke that makes no sense, but it's okay.
And you need to see people stress about biscuits and that be like the most important thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, just, the fact that the bread just wasn't, folded properly and it didn't look like a proper rainbow. And that was just really problematic. But I turned that off and I'm like, okay, you know what? Tonight I'll sleep okay.
Underproved, but the sponge is good.
So yeah, everybody loves Great British Baking Show and they feel the same way that we do, that it's super cute and gentle and it's a nice show to watch.
Yeah, it's just a nice show.
What are you watching now? Do you have any good shows that you're watching?
Well, I mean, I'm still following tennis. My TV is just turned on to Tennis Channel constantly. Mm-hmm. But like a lot of stuff is happening politically and it's all very melodramatic in tennis these days because they're not in the bubble anymore. Like they were in the bubble in New York and then they had a bubble in Paris. And now the French Open is over and they're like all these tennis players in the wild going into various tournaments. So there's an American named Sam Queerrey. Okay. And he was in St. Petersburg for the tournament. He tested positive for coronavirus. And then instead of quarantining in a hotel in St. Petersburg, the motherfucker left. He left the country. He got into a private plane with his wife and his baby, and he flew to a destination unknown. And now, like, the police are hunting for him and shit. So, like, yeah, it's very dramatic in tennis these days.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I'm watching Archer, and I've been taping Fargo, but I haven't started watching it yet. It's the new season with Chris Rock, and, like, I'm very anti-Chris Rock at the moment.
Yeah,
I think he's a jackass.
Yeah, he is.
But I've also heard really good things about this season of Fargo. So
I liked that first season. That was good.
With Martin Freeman.
Yeah. And the new actress, she hasn't been in a lot since that. But I've been watching Lovecraft Country and I like it a lot. It can be very shocking and hard to take and scary. But it's awesome too.
Is it scary?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I shouldn't watch it because it would freak me out.
Oh, there's some things you can't unsee in it that stick with you. And Lisa in our Zooms, she gets so scared. A couple people in Zoom won't watch it, but she gets so scared she has to watch it during the day. Other people watch it during the day too. And once she had to leave her laundry in the basement to get musty overnight because she was too scared to go in the basement after she watched it.
No, I'm like that too, man. I can't deal with this scary shit. So, it's like 'tis the season for Jezebel's scary stories.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
were doing like a preview, and they did a video of one of like their most popular scary stories. I fucking watched that video. It was less than 3 minutes. It has been freaking me out all week. I've been thinking about it all week.
So I watched another video they had on drumming, on somebody drumming outside somebody's tent. I saw that you linked the video from Jezebel on a different scary story, but I didn't watch it. Tell me it. Tell me.
All right. I think it's a true story. I mean, that's how it was presented, as a true story.
Okay.
And basically, she was a teenager alone in her house. Her parents went out for the evening, and she was alone in her house with her noise-canceling headphones on, working on a paper for school.
Okay.
And her parents came home and started yelling. They said, "What are all these muddy footprints? Did you have anyone in the house?"
Oh!
And she was like, "No, I've just been in my room this entire time." And she and her
my
parents
God.
heard this huge crash. They called the police, and the police came. They checked throughout the whole house, and they said, "Whose bedroom is that in the back?" And it was her bedroom. And the guy had written on her door. Oh, and I'm not even going to say it because it's so freaky. Oh.
Say it.
No. He was keeping a log of her. He was watching her for hours.
Oh my God, that's so creepy. I had a stalker. It wasn't my personal stalker, which is good. There was a guy coming to windows in the neighborhood in Buffalo, New York, where I lived in my first apartment with my best friend in college. And he was casing different apartments and looking in the apartments. And apparently he had a chair up to our apartment and was looking in our window. And they caught him later, and he was a convicted rapist.
Ew. Oh,
And there
God.
was that kind of thing going around in my neighborhood, not in my neighborhood, in my college campus around that year too. It wasn't very safe in Buffalo, New York in the early 90s. Yeah, thankfully nothing happened to anybody I know, but it was, anyway. It's a terrible story. We're supposed to talk about dumb shit this week.
Yeah, I know. I was just like saying,
Not
what-
you.
I
I
don't.
made
Oh,
you tell
scary
me that
stuff. We were
story.
talking about scary stuff.
I forced you to tell me that story. I wanted to hear it.
Well, I mean, go back and find the Jezebel link. It's a really scary video. It's very short, and it is haunting. I've been thinking about it all week.
Okay, I'm going to put it in this post. Episode number 70, I'll put a link to that Jezebel video.
And like every fucking year around Halloween, I'm like, this year I can handle those stories. I'm like, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to read just a few of them. And every year I have like sleepless nights because I'm like fucking terrified.
I'm so sorry.
Ugh, I am such a scaredy cat.
I just can't sleep if I eat too much snacks before bed. That's why I always have trouble sleeping after the awards show, because I get stressed from covering them and I eat so many snacks and then my stomach hurts and I can't sleep.
Yeah, I get wound up after award shows too.
Yeah.
After the Oscars, I usually can't fall asleep for like 40 minutes, an hour, or something
It
like
takes
that.
me an hour or so. We're not going to get them back next year, but maybe the year after.
We'll get some version of the Oscars next year, but it'll probably be a lot later. I think it'll probably be in March or April, don't you think?
Yeah, but they'll have a few people there in distance. They'll probably try to pull the same shit they did with Jimmy Kimmel with the stupid fucking Emmys. Those were terrible. Oh,
It
those were
wasn't as bad as
terrible.
I thought it would be, honestly. The Emmys.
It was worse than I was. So on Zoom this week, we also talked about how much we hated squirrels. Let me play this clip from Zoom first, and then we'll talk about this other thing that we remembered from before, which is hilarious to me.
Squirrels are assholes. Squirrels and raccoons are assholes.
So are swans. I don't care about anybody says how beautiful those motherfuckers are. I've seen a swan attack a dog.
Swans are terrible. Geese are fucking terrible. I hate geese.
They're horrible.
I'm telling you, there's a Crip blood thing going on with the squirrels in my neighborhood. I don't know.
Mine too.
It's like they're just battling. And I'm like, what is this? Seriously, I'm like
Domestic.
in my yard. I'm like, can y'all take this somewhere else?
I witnessed a domestic violence act between two raccoons. The one was running away and the other one chased after it. And then they ran into this driveway and they were like posturing, and then like you just hear and they fought and they were just going back and forth arguing with each other. And I was like, is this like a lover spat? Is she just like chewing his ass out?
I also saw a video on Instagram, or not Instagram, on Twitter the other day too, of penguins beating each other up over a lover spat. And it was a National Geographic video. And they said that because penguin wings, they don't fly, it's got hard cartilage in there. And so the one penguin beat up the boyfriend penguin, the cheater penguin, like bloody. And then the girl penguin in the end chose the boyfriend over the husband.
See, I like penguins because you often find they're progressive penguins because there's lots of same-sex couples.
Yeah, that's true.
And the men take like look after the babies. So I'm down with penguins. Not so much the cheating.
I should give background to this. I made everybody in Zoom talk. I didn't make them. I was like, can we just talk about other stuff this week? I was like, how's everybody doing? And Karen did this cute thing where she goes, hi, I'm Karen. I'm a Scorpio and I like squirrels. And I said, oh my God, nobody likes squirrels. I hate squirrels. So that's how we started talking about all that.
Well, do you remember that Sex and the City episode where like Aiden takes Carrie into nature and she calls squirrels rats with better costumes or something like that? She calls them rats with better outfits.
I gotta tell you something. I've only seen a few episodes of Sex and the City. I thought it was stupid and annoying. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Yes.
How can you be?
I lived down
generation?
there too. I lived down near New York and would go into New York quite a bit in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I just was like, oh, these women are so annoying. I can't stand them.
If you go back and watch it right now, 2020, Carrie sucks so hard. But the show is still worth it for the relationships.
Yeah.
Like Miranda, the character of Miranda holds up.
I liked her. But
yeah, she's great.
I don't remember.
Back to squirrels.
Okay. So I really dislike squirrels. I especially hate geese. You probably heard me in that clip. That's me saying I hate geese because I got attacked by geese when I was little and I have held a grudge ever since. And and I'm picturing myself like wringing its neck. So I remembered, I wrote this in our document. Do you remember when you said squirrels were dumb and that it didn't bother you if people ran over them? You didn't write it exactly like that. And you were like, oh yeah, I know exactly the article you're talking about.
like that post haunted me because it was one of the first really big times when everyone turned against me in the comments. Like everyone was yelling at me because I just said squirrels were dumb and I didn't care if they lived or died. I don't care about fucking squirrels. It's not like a hatred. I just don't give a shit.
What you wrote was not bad at all. And I completely agreed with you because my squirrel hatred is longstanding. And I will link the post. It was from 2011. It was about Jennifer Lawrence saying that she gutted a real dead squirrel for Winter's bone. You reminded me of that. And I only remember the squirrel controversy you wrote there.
Well, I remembered what it was about because Jennifer Lawrence was like me. She was like, I don't give a shit. It was just a dead squirrel.
She said, I should say it wasn't real for PETA, but screw PETA. Is that how you say it? PETA or PETA?
PETA.
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 Yeah, she said, I'm going to say it again. So I should say.
I knew you were going to say it again.
I'm such a fucking perfectionist. Oh, I don't need to say it again. Forget it. I edit the shit out of these. I say so much things wrong. I make it sound like I speak perfectly every time. So in 2011, you wrote, look, I like animals too. And I understand the whole, who am I to judge the soul of Mother Nature and all of that. But we're still talking about squirrels, right? They are glorified rats, only dumber. These are the creatures who are too dumb to move out of the road when they see a car coming a mile away. Jayla knows what I'm talking about. She grew up on a Kentucky farm, and she's comfortable with A, gun culture, and B, the daily life and death decisions of farm life. I don't think she's some anti-animal terrorist. I think she's just like, fuck it, it's a squirrel.
Which, I mean, that holds up. I think that holds up.
It does. And I also have to say, I read our old stuff, your stuff and my stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty proud I wrote that, 10 years ago. It's not that bad. And sometimes I'll read it and I'll think you wrote it. And then I'll be like, oh, I wrote that. It's too good for me to write it. But you updated that and you like defended yourself. I feel bad that you had to. This is such a dumb controversy. Basically, they got the squirrels dead already from a local trapper.
Right.
Don't cry for the fucking squirrels.
People are acting like Jennifer Lawrence went out personally hunting for squirrels. She didn't. She just bought some dead squirrels and she didn't give a shit. That's it. Like, she was like, fuck it.
Who cares if she hunted squirrels? I watched that Alone show and they kill so many squirrels.
But I am with you on geese. Like, I think geese suck.
Geese are terrible. They're so territorial and mean, and they're mean to little kids too. They terrorized me as a child.
I like to hike around this like fake little lake, but there are all these geese around. Well, there were over the summer. And like the geese were so territorial.
Yes.
And they didn't ever attack me, but like I steered clear of them. And yeah.
And they poop all over everything. And they're like, yeah. So we got the best gossip story we've had all year.
Oh, wait, did you want me to talk about groundhogs?
You can talk about groundhogs. Go ahead. I was like, oh, let's move on. I like it.
So when I had a dog, he was a huge half Newfoundland.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved to hunt. And then one summer, I never realized that I had so many groundhogs in or around my property. This dog fucking killed literally 5 groundhogs in one summer.
Aww.
It was like one right after the other. It was a total groundhog holocaust. It was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. Those are big animals. You have to dig a hole
Yeah,
for those.
they're big, dumb animals. And I never knew that groundhogs hiss. They hiss when they're cornered.
Ugh.
And like they fought back a few times. My dog had little cuts here and there. But yeah, that was a bad summer.
I don't mind groundhogs. I don't mind them.
Dexter catches like little moles and he's caught a few birds.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. When you have animals like dogs or cats that are hunters, you just kind of like shrug it off when like little animals die. Like,
yeah,
that's why squirrels and birds. I mean, I feel bad for the birds. I really do. Like, the birds aren't hurting anybody. But
once I tried to save a bird, it was in the street. And it was hurt, and I looked up on the internet what to do. And I've had birds like hit windows, and you're supposed to put them in a box until they get their senses back or whatever. But this bird was really hurt, so I put it in the garage. I had to get back to work. I got back to work. I called the bird sanctuary, and they were like, "You should have called us earlier. The bird's gonna die. You're a terrible person." That's basically what the lady said to me. And I'm like, yo, nobody else would have called you or tried to help this bird or taken it out of the road even. I'm like, I'm not driving an hour to deliver this bird to you. And she's like, we're closing now. And you called too late. I'm like, okay, thanks. It died. I put it in the backyard. I'm like, okay. So we got the best. I'm sorry, you want to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
We got the best gossip story we've had all year. I don't think I'm overselling this. Lily James and Dominic West are apparently having an affair, but it's so stupid and obvious. They were photographed making out in Rome at a restaurant. Very obviously. They were with another woman. Turns out she's their agent, and she works for both of them. So Lily is 31, Dominic is 50, and they're in this movie together where he plays her dad.
Yeah. They were doing more than just like a makeout session at a restaurant. Like, he was playing grab ass with her, and they were riding on a scooter together. And then there was an eyewitness who was actually just probably the paparazzo.
Yeah.
He was detailing all of their movements of like, they did this and then they did this. And they went to a hotel for hours and hours. And then they were like kissing and hugging when they came out of the hotel. I mean, it's a full blown affair. This isn't like, oh, it's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
They just kissed a little bit in a restaurant.
I don't go kissing people, especially during a pandemic, who are not somebody I'm sleeping with. So that would have been good enough. And everyone's like, ooh, this is good gossip. You know, what a good little scandal we're getting finally. Dominic went home to his rich wife in England, and her family's like old money, aristocratic. She has a whole ass castle, as you wrote in our document. And they have 3 kids together, and West has another older kid from another relationship. They've been married 10 years. Their youngest kid is 11. I guess the oldest is 22. They did a photo shoot outside, kissing and like putting on a United Front for the paparazzi. Like, they must have called them to come to their house. I don't think Maybe they were waiting out there already.
Yeah, I think they were waiting outside. Like, I think the paparazzi started tracking his movements as soon as he flew home to England. Like, they must have just been waiting for him at LAX. Because they got photos of him coming into his house.
Okay.
So I think he must have been like, oh, well, they're just going to wait out there until they get a photo. So let me do this photo call with my wife and, like, totally lie about our marriage. And the way that she was, like, playing along, that was what was disturbing.
She was looking at him with goo-goo eyes, like, you've been married to this dude for 10 years. And they had a note that said, our marriage is strong and we're very much still together. And they both signed it. I mean, come on. And then we also heard that Lily called Dominic's wife, Catherine, to try and convince her there was nothing going on. And she used the fact that their agent was there with them in Rome as, like, some kind of example. It's just so dumb. And it's good. I mean, we needed this.
Yeah, like, there are all of these, like, conspiracies about what's really going on. I think it's pretty simple. I think he went off to Rome, started banging his, co-star, and he didn't think he would be caught. He didn't think that paparazzi would, like, catch him openly having an affair with this young woman. As far as his wife goes, I don't know. Like, I saw some comment, not on our site. They're like, who knew that these two would have a kink of letting everyone know that they're in an open marriage?
But, like, okay, so we talked about this on Zoom, and the consensus was, even if it's an open marriage, that's really disrespectful to his wife. You're supposed to be discreet about that shit.
Yeah, they're absolutely. You're in an open marriage and you're doing it this way, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
There are so many rules and just bargain basement discretion.
Exactly. And I think he's just a lying liar. He told Lily that they were separated or they weren't sleeping together or something. And then he told his wife it was nothing. And this young girl was throwing himself at him and he was just being friendly. And that's what we heard about this phone call, is that, oh, he's a very cuddly kind of person. Like,
I don't know what it is. I think that it's probably, the whole story is a lot stupider than people are believing. Like, I do. No, this is a massive conspiracy. They're trying to get business for their castle hotel. No, they're not.
No.
They're not.
I think he just got busted
No
cheating.
one would try to promote their hotel this way.
Or, like, no one would try to get publicity this way by hooking up with a co-star and getting photographed.
Right, and, like, still wanting to be married. A lot of people would have an affair to get publicity, but not if they still wanted to be fucking married.
Yeah, they would want to get out of the relationship. So here's a segment from Zoom where we talked about this. And this is Alnaaze, Lisa, Michelle, and Sarah. Oh, and Angelina.
Yeah, I don't understand the attraction of that guy at all. I mean, maybe he's really charismatic in real life or something, but there's, like, when you look at him, there's nothing interesting about him.
Nothing.
I just assume he's McNulty from The Wire. Like, I've never seen The Affair, but I just assume he's McNulty. So when everyone was like, whoa, this is so crazy, I'm like, that's exactly what McNulty would do. Like, completely.
He always does play that kind of character. I know him too from 28 Days. It's a rehab movie with Sandra Bullock, and he was like the bad boyfriend in that movie. He sounds like the type that gets those roles because there's something true about that's who he is.
The thing is, if it's an open relationship, that's their business. But in this day and age, if you don't want to be seen, just don't be sucking each other's faces. And there was someone else with them. There was another woman there. So it's not like they were being subtle about it. And that whole weird stunt outside the house and then writing the note for the paps, it's just very, very odd. Like, if you've got an open relationship, just come out and say, well, not that you have to, but yeah, and the handwritten note did make me think it was all a bit, they're the kind of people who have an open marriage, but it's because they're so much more evolved than everyone else. And so, we've reached a higher place of being where monogamy doesn't fulfill our needs. Like, it's not just...
But it's only him doing the openness, She's still in a marriage, but he's out and about dating, I just feel like even with an open marriage, public aspect of it is what kills me, because I'm like, even if they had an open marriage, yeah, I'm sure that there was supposed to be some sort of discretion. And the fact that it's like been splattered all over papers all over the world, I'm like, how can you be so disrespectful to your wife like that?
It's so salacious and it's a train wreck and we're watching it, but I kind of don't mind the distraction because of like, we're so close to the election. I'm like, that's a bigger train wreck. So let me watch this little train wreck. And it's a, you know, throwback to some old school gossipy style of things instead of like, hey, our you know, nation is dying. So, you know, I'm like, thanks for being messy, guys. And I'm sorry for you all.
So it's like what Angelina said. This is an old school throwback gossip story. It reminded a lot of people of what's her name?
Kristen Stewart
and Meg Ryan. And also
well,
Meg Ryan.
That, like the Meg Ryan situation, we've never really talked about that. Ooh, that would be a good topic for a future podcast, is like that whole scandal. Because Meg Ryan used Russell Crowe to get out of her fucking marriage.
Yeah, that's a scenario you were just referencing.
Like, she didn't want to be married to Dennis Quaid anymore. So that's what happened. I'm not sure that that's what's happening with Dominic West.
No, I think he's just cheating. Women cheat to get out of their marriages or they hide it. Men cheat because they think they could get away with it.
Exactly. I do think it's more like Kristen Stewart and what's his face? Rupert Sanders. Like, he was just banging this young starlet on his movie and he never thought his wife would find out. And now she's married to a billionaire, so that's great.
Yeah, she made out fine. Let's move on to the user feedback. So Little Penguin left us a nice comment. She wrote, "Thank you so much for the podcast. We've been in a very small bubble since lockdown." Who has a bubble? I don't have a bubble. I have like one kid with me, but that's a sign. And your chats make me feel like I'm sitting with two friends having a glass of wine, laughing and just talking shit. You really help this stay-at-home mom's mental health these days. Thank you, Little Penguin. Appreciate it. I'm sorry for talking smack about your bubble, but I'm sure you hang out with more people than I do. And everyone loved how much we were busting up laughing at Trump again. And that was Zakiya and Angelina were commenting on Twitter.
It's still my happy place thinking about how he got fucking coronavirus at a super spreader event that he threw for himself.
He's still having them. That's the thing. He's still having them. So let's move on to the comments of the week. So my comment of the week is on the article where the Daily Mail noticed that Kate wore a black tuxedo pantsuit that was almost identical to the one Meghan wore, down to the cut of the cami underneath it. At first I was like, oh, it's just another black tuxedo pantsuit, but I realized I have a ton of clothes. I do not even own a shirt that looks exactly like the one Meghan wore. It's straight across and black. And most of my camis, I mean, it's because I like a V-neck and a scoop neck. But most of my camis are V or scoop. I don't have a black. Maybe this is just a staple piece of clothing.
No, I agree. Like, I don't think that cut of both the jacket and the camisole is that common. Like, you would really have to look for it.
You would. And I haven't really seen that style that much either in other women wearing it. So Blue Moon House wrote, but did the Daily Fail run an article comparing their criticism of Meghan's outfit to their CEO praise of Kate's? No.
They're not going to do that.
No.
I loved all of the comments on the post about Joe Biden and his Dairy Queen blizzard, and he was flipping it up.
I can't believe you didn't go to Dairy Queen. It's a lie. I've been to Dairy Queen like a couple months ago. I was at Dairy Queen.
Well, there was one that I always used to go to like maybe 3 times a month, but that one closed down, which is actually pretty good because it was kind of nasty, but like it was not very hygienic at all. So I didn't know that they are still flipping blizzards, but everyone was like in that post correcting me and saying they still flip blizzards. And then everyone was talking about their favorite flavors, and my favorite is either Snickers or Reese's Cup.
Ooh,
I love both those.
I like Reese's
What
Cup.
is your favorite?
I think I had a Heath was the last one I had, and they got me because they gave me an ad on Twitter for it, and I was like, okay. I went and got it.
All right, but my comment of the week was from, the Queen refusing to wear a fucking mask in her first public event in 7 months. And so Jessica said, this is an abdication of the quote-unquote duty that they're so fond of reminding us is so important to them. They are arrogant jerks, and the UK has one of the highest coronavirus infection rates in the world.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's so many people who are trying to be like, even though you anticipated it and wrote about it and said, I know that masks aren't required in the UK in some places and blah, blah, blah. They're like, but they're not required. Yeah, that's not the point. That's not the point.
Yeah, it's not the point at all. And we've been saying this for friggin' months. If you're a public figure, it is your moral duty. It is your responsibility to role model good behavior. And that includes wearing a mask.
Yes, exactly. And we just heard that 2 people on Kamala Harris's campaign tested positive, and you retweeted the statement from her campaign saying she was, she'd just been tested a couple times, but she's still going to quarantine. They did everything exactly right. And I just wish,
they're doing contact tracing. They're shutting down Kamala's part of the campaign for like a week. They were just doing it with such responsibility, so thorough. It was great. And
yes.
I mean, obviously people are going to contract the virus. The best thing you can do is just try to be responsible so that you can limit your own exposure and try to avoid exposing everyone else.
Exactly.
The Queen failed.
Yeah, she did.
She failed.
She did. You're right. And so did William. I mean, he was there with her. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks
These
for
assholes.
Yes, they are assholes. You emailed me. You're
I
like,
hope they all died of fire.
Don't say that. I can't go full circle with that because I'm cutting out the first one. So you emailed me before you published that post, and you're like, I'm calling the Queen of Petty B, just FYI. I was like, fine with me. I didn't even know what it was about. I was like, okay. And then I read it and saw that she wasn't wearing a mask. I was like, yeah, I agree with you. The only time they've worn masks is in labs, I think. No. Kate wore it when she went to the baby distribution center for the kids.
Yeah, Kate and William do the little mask on, mask off thing with no rhyme or reason. Like they've been indoors and then they take off their mask and then yeah. But the Queen has never worn a mask.
No. All right, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches. Fuck the police.
Okay. Ditto. Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.